Hello, and welcome to Northwest Newsweek. This week, Justin Trudeau made his first visit to Thunder Bay since 2019. The Prime Minister made several stops on Thursday and capped things off with a Liberal Party fundraising event at the Valhalla Hotel. But before he gave his remarks, Trudeau spoke about former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, who passed away earlier that day. Josh Morano was with Trudeau and gives us the details.
He was committed to this country, loved it with all his heart, and served it.
Brian Mulroney was Canada's 18th Prime Minister and was at the helm as the country shifted through some significant changes in national and world affairs. He passed away Thursday afternoon at the age of 84. Mulroney was in power from 1984 until 1993 and made several stops in Thunder Bay during that time span. Trudeau spoke fondly of the former PM ahead of his fundraiser in the city Thursday night, stating Mulroney helped shape Canada into what it is today.
His commitment to this country as a proud Quebecer, to bringing people together and demonstrating the impact but also the necessity of Canada on the world stage and the pride that Canadians could take in it was something that has left its mark. He shaped our past, but he shapes our present, and he will impact our future as well. He was an extraordinary statesman, and he will be deeply, deeply missed.
Trudeau reiterated his condolences in front of the nearly 100 people at this Liberal Party fundraiser, which reportedly cost attendees a steep $1,500 apiece. Later in his speech, Trudeau shifted his focus back to the people in attendance, delivering a message where he expressed the importance this region has on the country.
Because not only do we have the best educated workforce in the OECD, not only do we have the resources, we also look out for each other in a way that makes our communities more stable, our democracy stronger, our ability to solve challenges with resilience even better.
Josh Morano, TBT News.
4 North Shore municipalities are still in the dark as to where their new amalgamated EMS bases will be or when they could be built. That's despite the fact that Superior North EMS has identified their preferred sites. EMS Chief Shane Muir addressed that issue and other topics in Nipigon at day 1 of the annual meeting of the Thunder Bay District Municipal League. Lee Noonan was there.
Superior North EMS Chief Shane Muir updated the Thunder Bay Municipal League on the state of the region's EMS service over the past year. The service saw progress on many fronts, but the plan to consolidate 4 North Shore EMS bases down to 2 is in limbo as he waits on approvals from the city of Thunder Bay.
We've identified locations that we would consider suitable. We just don't know if they're suitable to actually build on or have the proper infrastructure, access, and egress routes.
It's been more than a year since Thunder Bay City Council approved a plan to consolidate the EMS bases in Nipigon and Red Rock, as well as Scriber and Terrace Bay.
Is there a timeline? I mean, you spoke briefly to the fact that it has gone to the Realty Division, but again, timeline. That seems to be the number one question that we get.
I was really hoping that we'd be a little bit farther along, and I know some of our other city departments are incredibly swamped with the amount of work that they have to do. They have a huge workload, and they have other priorities as well. This is not something I'm letting go of, though.
In a written statement, Thunder Bay City Manager Norm Gale offered no firm timeline, but said the file is being reviewed diligently and with a sense of urgency, with meetings planned in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, there is ongoing concern about how the base consolidation will affect service in the municipalities.
Scriber and Terrace Bay have been left a number of times in code black. I'm just wondering with the consolidation of the Scriber and Terrace Bay ambulance base, how are you going to make sure we aren't left in code black anymore?
If you're talking about a service that's staffed with 1 ambulance, then as soon as they get a call, it's actually a code black situation.
Muir says recruitment and retention are the solution to avoiding code black situations where all ambulances are tied up. However, it's also the biggest challenge currently facing the service.
We are currently in a staffing crisis. We desperately need paramedic recruitment. We've created a whole digital media strategy around SNEMS, putting out its branding, putting out its culture, really trying to attract people to the northern communities to work as paramedics.
Muir did have quite a bit of good news as well, including a robust new mental health support program for paramedics and strong results from the new community paramedicine program, which he directly connects to a reduction in call volume across the district. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
It appears a February 7th vote to oust the chief of Red Rock Indian Band is now considered to have passed. That reverses the original decision and leaves Chief Marcus Hardy with just a week to respond and defend himself against the allegations. The First Nations administration issued a statement on Thursday after an emergency band meeting Tuesday night. The emergency meeting was called by former Red Rock councillor Shannon Michelle Ruth, who was one of a number of band members who contested the results of a vote to remove Hardy from office. With 91 members present at the February 7th meeting, the 57-23 vote was originally considered not to have met the two-thirds threshold needed to pass. But Michelle Ruth and others argued that not voting members should never have been considered in the overall tally.
We all came together and the majority, said that yes, the motion was incorrectly marked as defeated as per motions that we had in the past. And everybody, we had a letter of support drafted up, and a number of people signed the letter stating that that Marcus Hardy was removed at the February 7th general band meeting.
According to the statement released by administration, Hardy has been accused of misusing the band credit card. He has until March 8th to respond. After that, band members will make the final decision alongside council. In a brief statement to TBT News, Hardy says he intends to defend himself against the allegations. Ontario Provincial Police in the Northwest dealt with more cases of impaired driving and violent crime last year, according to its annual report for 2023. Regional Commander Brian McKillop sat down with TBT News to speak about their crime statistics, as well as the OPP's top priorities for this year. Jessica Clement has the details.
OPP officers in the Northwest region were very busy last year, as they made over 16,000 arrests and over 36,000 traffic stops, according to their annual report for 2023. Chief Superintendent Brian McKillop noted they saw an increase in property crimes, violent crimes, and fatal collisions, but a decrease in personal injury collisions and property damage collisions. He says what stood out to him the most was the increase in impaired driving occurrences, but increased enforcement may be part of the reason.
We led the entire province in proactive ride programs or Reduce Impaired Driving Everywhere programs throughout the festive season. So we saw a dramatic increase in impaired driving charges. So compared to 2022, where we saw 1,124 impaired driving charges across the region, we saw 1,176 across Northwest region for 2023. It's a startling and alarming statistic that people are still out there engaged in that type of problematic driving behavior.
McKillop states last year they also saw an increase in violent crimes, specifically related to intimate partner violence. He says while the incidents are alarming on their own, the increase in reported incidents shows more trust in the OPP.
We've adopted some very proactive approach and put a lot of energy into making sure we support our victims and those that are survivors of intimate partner violence. So by putting more resources into that, by having our MCERT teams out there working with victims and really leaning on our victim support networks, we're really hoping that those that are suffering from domestic violence occurrences feel more comfortable coming forward.
McKillop says this year the Northwest detachments will be working hard to keep building connections in each community, adding that the OPP's top priorities for 2024 are crime resolution, providing support for victims, and offender compliance.
It's vitally important for the success of the criminal justice system to prevent re-victimization and to prevent further victims from occurring as a result of offenders going out there and becoming more prolific, that we hold them to account in a way that supports them through the criminal justice system so they don't reoffend.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
MPP Saul Mamakwa is calling out the Ford government this week for failing to send any cabinet ministers to an emergency meeting regarding high suicide rates in the NAN territory. Anishinaabe Nation hosted the meeting in Ottawa in late January and invited federal and provincial ministers to help address the crisis in mental health, addictions, and suicides. Indigenous Services Minister Patty Hajdu and several other federal ministers were there. NAN also invited Ontario Solicitor General Michael Kersner, Indigenous Services Minister Greg Rickford, and 2 other provincial ministers, but none of them attended.
On January 24, leadership of Anishinaabe Nation held an emergency meeting on mental health and addictions. All levels of government were invited, and the leadership from NAN were very disappointed when no one showed up from none of the Ontario ministers showed up for the meeting. Can this government let the people know why they didn't show up for the emergency meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In subsequent conversations with the Grand Chief of Anishinaabe Nation, we have reaffirmed our commitment in a couple of important categories to address the mental health crisis, both in isolated communities and as well for students attending high school in Thunder Bay. Those resources, Mr. Speaker, focus on NAN Hope, a program ran by Kiwetnek Okimakanak, an organization widely accepted and thought of as the right organization to deliver services to students on reserve and transitioning to the big city, Mr. Speaker, as well as mental health resources on the ground in Thunder Bay.
I would like to thank the government for that funding, but it was peanuts.
One of the largest mines in this region is up for sale. The Musselwhite Mine is among 6 global mining operations being divested by Newmount Mining. The mine, located north of Pickle Lake, currently employs around 1,000 people. It produced over 3.5 million ounces of gold since it first opened in 1997. Newmount announced a strategy last week to sell off some of its mine holdings as a way to pay off debt. Company officials describe Musselwhite as a high-quality but non-core asset. The mine has struggled in recent years with a major fire in 2019 that destroyed its conveyor belt and halted production for months. Gold production was then hampered by the pandemic. But the mine produced 173,000 ounces of gold in 2022, the year that Musselwhite celebrated its 25th anniversary. Cat Lake First Nation has managed to stop construction of an access road to a mining site in their traditional territory, at least for now. Lawyers for Cat Lake and the MNRF and First Mining Gold met at a hearing last week, and a judge issued an interim order to halt the ministry's approval of the road. First Mining has been working to create an open-pit gold mine in Springpole Lake, located about 50 kilometers southwest of Cat Lake. First Mining has been using an ice road to bring supplies to its work camp, but in recent years there's been several incidents of vehicles breaking through the ice, causing safety concerns. The new 18-kilometer road would be connecting to an existing forestry road. The MNRF issued a construction permit on February 9th, prompting Cat Lake to take legal action. The CEO of First Mining says it's disappointing that the First Nation has chosen to oppose their activities aimed towards safety. The roadwork is now on hold until the legal challenge is fully heard in court. Coming up after this short break, Ontario forest firefighters hold a news conference with the NDP to demand better pay and health coverage.